It was kind of nice to meet here because you'd be kind of familiar with this street, right, Cliodhna? You'd know this street pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, given that this is where you grew up with two of the most beautiful, coolest parents anybody could ask for, you had to share it with that Egypt Phelim, of course, your brother. But I'm sure nonetheless it was still a beautiful place to grow up.
It was, and actually my grandmother lived here before we moved here. She lived in Carnac, and we lived with her there for 2 years.
Gotcha, I didn't know that.
And then we bought...
There's Carnac, yeah, brilliant.
We bought, or at least my parents bought the house at the end of the road, and that's where we ended up for nearly 40 years. Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
We should say the reason we're here now is that on September the 2nd in Vicar Street, Friday, it's the 2nd, isn't it? Yes,
yeah.
There's a wonderful gig for the beautiful Ronnie Drew. You've got some great people. He's played with a huge amount of people. Some of those people who were lucky enough to play with him, John Sheehan, obviously from the Dubliners, Eleanor Shanley. There's also Declan O'Rourke and the Newlands will be there, and even young Phelim will be there, and there'll be others. But it's a kind of a celebration of what was and still is, when people look back, at an incredible career. For you, putting a gig like this together, I'm sure it's joyful. It must be kind of emotional too, I'd say.
Oh, very, yeah. Because I mean, it's all people he loved and worked with through the years, and then it's Vicar Street, which has kind of became a little bit of a home to him, and we've made friends with the people that work there, and it's emotional. Yeah, I mean.
It's funny that it's wonderful that the gig now. He would be on September 16th this year. Ronnie would have been 82, which is a fair age. I think 82. Yes, it would be 82. So we're kind of it's a nice sort of month to be doing something for him. I know that I've been asked, even as the Greystones guide, people have said to me, "Oh, there must be something we'll do for Ronnie, and hopefully we'll be able to organise something in the same month, a smaller little fair afterwards in Greystones." But we'll keep people updated on that. I've always thought with Ronnie, as much as anybody loves their parents. How are you, Maria? Are you well?
Good. How are you?
Good. As much as everyone loves their parents, Ronnie is so kind of mythical. I've always seen him. If himself and Luke could almost like be Jagger and Keith Richards, or there's a sort of a sense they're so embedded in the Irish psyche and so embedded in our culture. For you, that just the memory of a father, but then also just having that presence around you all the time. It must be, I hope, comforting sometimes to know his impact is still so big in people's lives.
Absolutely, yeah. It's lovely to know that he's still remembered and people still like him. And I put the post up on Facebook. I don't have that many friends, and now suddenly have a few more. I was amazed at the reaction to the concert. So delighted, yeah.
Now, the name of the gig is, I'm trying to remember now the name of the...
Here's to you, Ronnie Drew.
Here's to you, Ronnie Drew. And I know young Mr. Hand has sort of had a hand in it as well, sort of to pull together...
Yeah. Well, Brian has a long association with the Dubliners. His father before him managed the Dubliners for years. And Brian works for Pat Egan
Right. So that whole world is...
And he has always worked with the Dubliners, so he's part of our sort of extended family.
Nice.
And he came up with the idea, and we thought, nice time, why not? Let's go for it.
I was trying to just think of how, I know one guy described Ronnie's voice as coke being crushed underneath a door, I think, but I've always thought him more like Leonard Cohen eating gravel, maybe down a well. There's a sort of depth to that voice. It sort of seems like there's a pit down there somewhere that he's managing to sort of come up out of, and he's I mean, do you kind of, when you hear Ronnie's voice, and there's still this thing of he'll always be around musically, there'll always be music coming out of the radio and the internet and beyond, does it sort of have an effect on you still, I'm sure, when you hear him?
It depends. If I'm expecting it, you can sit back and enjoy it because you're prepared, but when you're not expecting it, it can be a bit of a...
Yeah, that's
a bit of a jolt sometimes.
Bit of a sideswipe.
Yeah.
Well, we put in the links for everybody. It's for a great cause. I know you're doing it. This is fundraising for the clinical research clinic in St Vincent's Hospital. It's just $33.50. There's already a great lineup, but there's going to be more to be added. I'm sure there'll be some surprises. I always love the fact that Ronnie's musical taste was very, very wide. Obviously, he loved his Spanish guitar from early on when he was over in Spain. But then recording with people like Ja Wobble and obviously the Pogues and so many kind of diverse people might not expect almost that just the musical kind of fun that he had, because he was very keen. I know that I probably influenced him the most in his life, because when I would talk to him about music, he would obviously soak up all my great knowledge and my great taste and all that, so I do feel I did contribute to that. But yeah, he's got a great kind of widescreen kind of taste and output, so I'd say there'd be some nice surprises on the night too.
Yeah, some nice surprises. We don't have all the names yet, but know, the names you mentioned are confirmed.
I'll probably be free. I'll check now. I could bring along my congas, or do some kind of African drum thing. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.